Hello, Internet. So tonight we're gonna look at some toys. I've got some of the Empire Strikes Back waves laid out. Chloe, hush, hush it. Sorry about that. She's not gonna stop. Hush, hush, hush it. That's good stuff. So, got some of the Empire Strikes Back toys lined out. There's like 19 toys in wave 3, 4, and 5. Last week I did wave 1 and 2. Just a little, just a glance, okay? Just a little glance. We got a little dynamic shot zooming in on the Probot set. This is from the Empire Strikes Back era also. Those are all Empire Strikes Back toys. And this is just one of my passions. And I love it, man. I love the toys. This is what I started with, and it got me into comic books, and I even like the Star Wars comic books. And they are a hot Bronze Age item. They sell really well. So if you got a short box of Star Wars books, take a look through it. And lots of keys in there. You know, lots of first appearances and all that. And pretty good stuff. So without further ado, this is the weirdest thing I do, because I set up a couple different shots to kind of look at some toys and stuff. And it was kind of, I knocked some stuff over. That's the thing about toys, is like they get dusty, right? They get dirty. You got to clean them all the time, or never, and just deal with it. And you can knock them over, like a lot. You know, my cabinet has 100 figures in the one section, and you knock one down, they all go down. It is a domino effect unlike any other, and it can be a little nerve-wracking. So I had that domino effect happen to me a couple times setting up the shot for tonight. Specifically, the shot you're about to see, I set up a sort of a transitional thing so that I could walk over to the desk, and I try to, I want to make it kind of cool, because I got all this crap, so why not use it? You know what I mean? So let me pull my switcher up on my iPad here, and hopefully we will get a little picture-in-picture, and this might work, it might not work. I hope it does. I literally just got it ready. So here we go. Okay. So, good evening. This is 19 figures. What is it? It's 48 minus 32. So it's 17 figures in these 3 waves. Okay. This is 1981, I think, was when Empire came out. And Kenner had great success. And, it was an amazing experience to see the commercials, see all the ships and the play sets. That is my favorite thing, is adding the figures to the play sets and ships. They make terrific dioramas. The craftsmanship of the toys was incredible. I've met a few of the engineers that worked on these toys, and they're all good people, good folks, and yeah, just a ton of fun. This hobby can be very rewarding, and the thing is, these aren't toys anymore. You know what I mean? Like, my nieces and nephews come over, and they're real, want to be hands-on. I have to kind of block the room off, and Uncle No Fun doesn't let them play with the 50-year-old toys. So it is what it is, but these are my treasures, and I've got other toys they can play with, not these, because they're special. So here they are in all their glory. I'll just take a sec to let you bask in this. I'm trying to set up the light right, trying to get the shadows correct. It's a little weird. This is a top-down shot. They're much better standing. You can see Dengar here has a huge pack on his back, so he's a little phase forward. So up top here, we have the first 9. This was the first wave. This is wave 3 of the Empire Strikes Back, okay? These are the 41 back cards. And these are highly sought after because of the art on the cards. I'm going to do carded figures later, and we'll cover the card backs later. This is just the figures, just a figure focus. But the card backs on these were very cool because they were individual photographs of each figure. And in some cases, they had alternate paint jobs from the prototypes that were provided to the Kenner photographer. And that's really cool. Some of the card backs have prototype toys on them, things that weren't exactly the same as production, and that's a lot of fun to look at. And some collectors have found those items and added them to their collection. So I'm just going to read off the back here because I don't know the name of every one of them. So this is the Rebel Commander. I pretty much know the name to everyone, but I don't exactly know the name. This is Rebel Commander. And he's fully sculpted, not much paint. His boots are painted. But you'll notice, like, it's very rare that they have different color paints that are similar. His scarf paint is much different than his boot paint. And you'll see the straps on his boots. That was the kind of thing that would be detailed on prototypes that didn't make it to production, because it was an extra step in masking the paint and spraying the paint onto the figures. So it added great cost, and for that reason, it was not done. At the detriment of the wonderful children that enjoyed these and the adults 40 years later. So he's got the same boots as the Bespin Luke and the Han Hoth. And that Luke there too. Okay, one of the greatest toys ever is the AT-AT, the AT-AT. And this is the AT-AT pilot. I think it stands for Armored Troop Attack Transport. Armored Transport Attack. Armored Troop Attack Transport. AT-AT. I can't remember. It's a lot of information. So, and sue me. You can sue me. You can attack my attorney. You can contact my attorney and sue me and get in line. All right. So this is the AT-AT Trooper. Nice red emblems above his head here. Nice red emblems. Gorgeous, gorgeous piece. One thing that always happened with the AT-AT is he got butt rub because he would sit in the back of the AT-AT his whole life. So there's always a little bit of rub on this figure's butt from sitting in the back of the walker. He has a unique rifle, which is uncommon to this line. He is the only one that carries this style rifle. And it's a sling rifle. It's slung over his shoulder. And it's a nice laser cannon. The back of his helmet has some really nice detail and color. One thing is that these are 5 POA figures. POA standing for point of articulation. The Imperial soldiers, however, had helmets on and their heads didn't move, okay? If you ever see a stormtrooper with his head looking to the side, grab it, because it's a Luke and stormtrooper disguise from the last 17, and it's very, very sought after. It's one of the last figures to come out, and for that reason, it is more rare than the others, and it's a Luke Skywalker who is the star of the show, and everybody wants that figure very much. AT-AT driver, okay? And like I said, the ship that he commanded or that he piloted is one of the greatest toys ever. It had light-up chin guns and batteries and long legs, and you could position it and have it fight the battle on Hoth. What an opening scene with the stop animation and the tauntauns and the wampa and Luke grabbing the lightsaber with the Force and killing the wampa and Obi-Wan coming to him and you know, Han saying, screw it, my friend's out there, and taking the Tauntaun and going and finding him and slicing it open and putting Luke in. Then the Empire attacks and General Viz, make y'all men ready, or whatever. Like, it's just dope as hell. And I love Empire Strikes Back. Is it the greatest movie of all time? That's a good question. It might be. Okay, now, prior to them landing on Hoth, we had a look at Vader's giant ship, all right? I even looked it up last week after I didn't know it, but I can't recall. It's not the Interceptor, it's the Executor. The Executor. Vader's ship, the Executor, which was twice the size of the other Star Wars destroyers that we saw pan very longly over the camera in Star Wars #1. And so in that ship were a bunch of these guys, a bunch of Imperial commanders running around, being scared of Vader and doing their worst, you know, and, you know, we shall double our efforts, like all that stuff, you know, like just being little ninnies, and, you know, they were the Empire. But this, at the Empire Strikes Back, was the Empire at the height of its power. You know what I mean? Like, they were chasing this rebel force across the nation. They had just suffered a catastrophic defeat with the blowing up of the Death Star. The rebels were hiding on Hoth. They sent out the probe droids, and they found one, you know. Han blew it up, and he was like, well, mine blew up pretty easy, you know. And so they sent the thing back, and Vader came right there and was right on him, okay? And these little guys were in Vader's ship, the Executor. And what you'll notice here is they come with a blue gun, all right? Many of the characters came with blue guns for this. The only black guns were the rifles that were seen with the Rebel Commander, the AT-AT pilot, and Luke. But all the other guns, well, the bounty hunters had black guns too, but I digress. So next we get on to the Bespin Han, okay? Everybody loves Han Solo. It's one of the greatest characters ever. The scoundrel, you know, the womanizer, you know, he's all over Leia, trying to get some Leia, you know, and it was the love story of the show, and it was so good. So here he is in his Bespin attire, okay? Cloud City. They're stranded. They have just been run out of Hoth. They land. They go through an asteroid field, you know, and they hide in a hole, but it turns out the hole is alive, and it's like a giant snake monster, you know. And they get run off, and they end up in Bespin with Lando Calrissian and his crew, okay? And this is his outfit from there. This is where he famously gets captured by Vader and put in carbonite and given to Boba Fett to be taken to Jabba the Hutt. And, you know, they had thought they were in a safe place. They weren't ready for the double cross. They got invited to dinner. Leia was in her nice gown. And, you know, they open up the door, and Vader is there, and he catches the bolts. He catches the laser bolts in his hand and rips the gun out of his hand with the Force. Just, we had never seen anything like that to that date. And just a wonderful scene, a wonderful scene. Not much time on screen in this outfit, but I really like what they did. There is a yellow accent down the side of the pant. Excuse me. There's a yellow accent down the side of the pant, a yellow pinstripe. And on some figures, I think it's a Lily Letty, very rare, this back belt buckle, which is his holster, okay, is painted white. I really want that figure. It's a variant I've been looking for a long time, but whenever I see it, it's very expensive. And we'll see what happens in the future, but that is one of the pieces I am looking forward for moving forward. Okay, now moving on, we have Hoth Leia, okay? Speaking of Han sneaking a kiss on Hoth, this is the outfit she was wearing, okay? When they're in the base, they're closing up shop, she's at the computer we see droids running around and other rebels, and she is worried about Luke, and you know, she's just beautiful in her attire. Her hair has changed. You know, she had the earmuff hair in the previous in the previous chapter, A New Hope, and now we see her with a more conservative haircut with the braid around the top, and it's captured here well in the figure. She's got nice red lips and nice eyes, and I think this is a nice, the only female in the line, of course. You know, these dolls were for little boys, I guess. You know, this was this wasn't Barbie, this was Star Wars, so these action figures, not dolls, how dare you, had one female in the line. They did create a female prototype, and that never came out. It was one of the dancers in Jabba's palace. But anyway, you'll also notice the scale of the figure. She's a good bit shorter than Han, which was representative on screen. Later, in later subsequent lines by Hasbro and Kenner, she was made pretty hefty. There's a Monkey Leia in the 90s Kenner line that was pretty beefy. They had sort of copied He-Man, and they made her all buff and got away from like the actual scale of the figure, like the human scale, which is very, I think, tastefully done and well done. I like that they look like actual little tiny people, and I talk to them. Okay, so next we have Lando's right-hand man, Lobot. And he's got this weird thing on his head. He's got the Elon Musk computer chip in his head back in the day, 1980. He already had it. He was the first one to the party. He could start his microwave and, you know, start his car. He had a remote start way before anybody else. He, you know, he had his iPad in his ears. And for that, he was a cool guy. But I don't know if he slept. I feel like he just walked around awake or shut down. You know, he would rest like an Apple computer. This one is strangely has a funky color hand. These hands are very strangely colored, and they are not flesh colored. They are actually the color of his sleeve. And that makes me think it might be a little rare, and nothing wrong with that, might I add. So I don't know what character that was, but I felt the luck of the Irish. There is no green on this table. I have none on my body. Look at that. There's green right here. Look at that green. See that? All right. So don't pinch me. All right. Happy whatever day it is. It's a holiday and we're happy about it. So, okay, moving on. This is 21B, I think. I love that the droids had numbers, like they were numbered and lettered. I think that's so cool. This is 21B. He's got his little scepter. I believe he's a medical droid. I think he was there with FX7 helping Luke after he got his face chewed off by the Wampa. You know what I mean? This is our medical droid for the Rebels, and he is very helpful. A 41 back, and there is a variant of this where he's shiny. They made him shiny, and you know, he's got this little pipe coming off his body into there. His sternum is translucent. Just a cool figure, a cool robot. You know, the integration of robots and androids, which is, by the way, I want to say trademarked by Lucas Limited. He owns the word android. He was the first one to make it. So that's cool. You know, in our daily lives, we hear about Android all the time. We hear about Android phones and all this stuff. And I think Lucas made that word up. I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with it because it feels good. Okay. Next, all right, we're still on the 41 back, and we have our first bounty hunter. Okay, we had 2 bounty hunters in the previous show and a bounty hunter in the show before that. Now we were on to number 4 here. This is our 4th bounty hunter out of 6, and it's Dengar, all right? He's got some sort of mummy wrap around his face. We don't know what that is. Maybe he bit his own ear off or something. I don't know what's going on with this dude. He is a little shorter, so he might have that Napoleon complex and just be a kill, kill, kill guy. He does have a long gun, but it's a repeated gun. We saw this gun in the Snow Trooper already, so they didn't think enough of him to create his own weapon. He does, however, come back in gear. Okay, he's got a huge backpack on him. It's got a very large nipple on it, and it's a different color. This paint is opposite of this. Now, what I imagine happened is when they tooled this thing, they made a separate spray application because these bodies are sonic welded together. The sternums are two pieces, and when they float the plastic in the mold, they pop it out, and then it would go to paint, and they would paint multiple pieces on a tree at one time and then put the figures together. Now, I'm not sure if that's where the paint is on the process. I kind of misspoke there because I don't really know, but I would imagine they would paint the trees of pieces first. So he does have a different color backpack than his leg. It's like a little bit shinier, a little bit yellower maybe, a little bit lighter than his leg, which is just a muted brown tone. So that's Dengar, all right? Famously, on the Executor, Darth Vader hired the bounty hunters to track down the rebels and to track down Luke and Han. And Boba Fett was the first to the party and was able to do so. So we never really got to see Bosk or Lobot or Zuckuss or Dengar or IG-88. We never got to see these bounty hunters do their worst. And that's sort of a sad thing, but moving forward, there's a lot left to be revealed, and perhaps we'll see bounty hunters in the future. I know we already have seen a few bounty hunters, and it's very cool. I like that part of the Star Wars canon, is the bounty hunting. All right, this is a very famous, one of this race was in The Mandalorian, and he was able to reprogram IG-11 to make him a good guy, and he was able to ride the little monsters or whatever that and teach Din Djarin how to ride. And this is a oh man, I forget. An Ugnaught, okay? Ugnaughty by nature. This is Ugnaughty by nature. And he has an apron and a toolbox, and he's on Bespin, and they're very engineer type. They're an engineer type race. They do a lot of tinkering and building, and they're just sort of in the tools and the they're trade workers, and very smart race, and they're pig-faced. I guess they have like a pig nose. So the very cool thing about this figure is that it's an army builder. You know, you can get a bunch of these to man play sets and stuff, and they don't look too repetitive because they're sort of like a Jawa figure that you can get a lot of and put them out of. Similar to the Commander, the AT-AT driver, and the Imperial Commander. You can get a bunch of these and it doesn't look bad. Now, you'll notice that the variation on this is that he wears an apron, and one is purple and one is blue. That is the most common variation in this figure, and I don't think this was a production thing. I think the purple is a degradation of fabric over time, and so there's probably just a different fabric. I have my zoom lens on, but I don't have zoom control. But I could show you that this fabric's grain runs horizontal while this one runs vertical. Okay, so that's about it for the Ugnaught. I like these guys. They have they've got fangs that stick out. They've got mullets. You know, everybody loves a midget with a mullet. I don't care who you are. It's a good ass time. You're welcome. Next, we got my dude, the Bespin Guard. Okay, they added a black Bespin Guard to add a army builder, and there was a black Bespin Guard in the movie, And so they added one to the toy line, and I love it. He's got a unique stance. His leg goes out sideways. He's kind of hard to stand up sometimes, but like he looks really good. They have a cloud car ship, and you can set it up with the Bestman people doing work to it. Okay, they have a Boba Fett ship that you can set up and have the Bestman guards carrying Han and Carbonite to and from it, you know, and carrying their guns and stuff. And you can set them up to greet Han and Leia coming off the Millennium Falcon behind Lobot and Lando Calrissian. Like, these are great army builders for dioramas for the play sets and ships that came out for the Empire Strikes Back. The Cloud City Bespin scene was a very big deal. It was the second act, and it was a wonderful part of the movie. And so I'm very glad to have these guards in the toy line. He has this gold leaf on his jacket that is very often missing. This is a very fragile paint that is highly susceptible to rub, and many of these examples are missing the gold paint. And at different levels, you know, it's okay. I mean, if you can't find one with the gold paint, I don't discourage you from buying one without it, just to make a set that can fill out your diorama. Okay, like you can turn his back to the front facing part of the diorama. Okay. And then next, you can put the Cloud Card pilot in the Cloud Car ship. Imagine that. They made a pilot for the Bespin Arena. And what is interesting about this fella, beyond his helmet, that is very cool, very Mario, very, you know, Koopa Troopa, before Koopa Troopa, I might add, is that he had a walkie-talkie. This little thing is missing all the time. There is a very small accessory that goes with the Cloud Car pilot that's a little communicator, okay? And his gun and communicator are gray. The only toy in the line that has a gray accessory, all right? I don't know why. His belt is gray. His boots are yellow, like a weird yellow. The Lily Letty is famously canary yellow, while this is more of a pastel Easter yellow. But this little communicator is always gone. It is very difficult to find these with that small toy. And the interesting thing about these toys is that the weapons are worth more than the figures. The figures are much harder to lose than the weapons. Therefore, the weapon is much more expensive than the figure. You wouldn't think the little piece of plastic would be more than the figure, but it is. It always is. The weapons carry more value than the figure, especially when they're one-of-a-kind weapons, when they're not repeated in other figures. In other figures, like for example, this gun is repeated throughout the line. There are many examples of this gun in the line. Okay, right here we have 4 with it. You can always replace it, okay, because there's cheaper figures that have that gun on it. This little fella right here, this little gray communicator that fell into every couch hole and probably got swallowed by 3 dozen babies a week, is very hard to find. And for that reason, this figure carries a high resale value, okay, due to his small accessory. If you find it complete, pick it up, do yourself a favor, and have a good time. All right, now to George Lucas's favorite character of the show of all time is R2-D2, okay? Beep boop bop beep boop beep boop. Beep boop bop beep boop beep boop. R2 always saving the day, always coming in at the last second to foil the evil plan. He is the man. This figure, okay, there were 4 different R2-D2s throughout the line, all right? We have the regular, we have the 3-legged with the droid building play set, and we have the sensor scope and the lightsaber builder. The lightsaber builder is probably the most expensive. My favorite is the 3-legged from the droid builder. Now, This is a slightly yellow thing. I think I might apply some of my comic book technology to this and whiten the paper sticker that is on the R2. Not sure, you know, I'm in no rush to improve the line. I think I have a nice collection with many near mint examples, but the R2 typically will yellow. Okay, this R2 has a sensor scope. If you'll remember, when Luke crashes down on Dagobah and meets Yoda for the first time, R2 takes a trip in the drink. Okay, Luke crash lands on Dagobah, and R2 gets out of the X-wing and falls in the swamp. And what we see is the sensor scope pop up out of the swamp and look around like a periscope, you know. And in fact, it's funny I say periscope. There was a unique line in Sears figures called skin wraps, and they were heat wrapped plastic on blank cards. And the R2, there was 8 different ones, and the R2 was called R2 with periscope. I recently had one. I found one on eBay and resold it for a lot of money because they're very rare, and it wasn't a focus of mine, and it was okay to get rid of it and turn a profit and put it back into the collection. So the sensor scope here is what separates this R2 from the previous R2 of the early bird. Many variations of domes on R2, different colors of the paint. Some of the stickers have variations with different things. Some of the different countries that made R2 have different variations of the stickers. This is the sensor scope version. And one of the most expensive carded figures. This was on the 45 back card, which was a 4-figure card, okay? 4 or 5. It might have been 6. Wait, we go from 41 to 45 with 2 repeats with C-3PO. So that's 47. So it's a 6-figure wave. Wave 4 is 6 figures, okay? And they're right here. Okay, this is wave 4. I forgot to mention this. Wave 4, wave 4, wave 4, wave 4, wave 4, wave 4. All right, so the 45 back R2-D2 sensor scope is very rare, very hard to find on card, and very expensive. All right, if you ever see one of those and it's at a yard sale or something, go ahead and pick it up. You know what I mean? You ain't doing nothing wrong by doing that. So, moving on, C-3PO, a wonderful piece. This is the best C-3PO, okay? If you remember, on Bespin, C-3PO gets ambushed and he's blown apart, all right? His whole body is disconnected. Well, this C-3PO comes with a bag that fits onto Chewbacca, okay? This bag attaches to Chewbacca as a backpack, or any other figure really, but Chewbacca was in the film and wore him in the film. All right, you just put it around, you know, put the bag on Chewbacca, and then C-3PO comes apart and his legs and arms pop off. And you put him in the backpack and put him on the back of Chewbacca, and I think it's just hilarious and amazing, right? Like, I love that figure for that reason. And I have him displayed in my cabinet in the backpack on Chewbacca. And I just love it. I like C-3PO. I think Anthony Daniels is a national treasure. And there is video of him in that suit. Just imagine being in the desert, covered in metal, that doesn't adjust and walk down steps in a bar that's dark. Like, the guy gave an amazing performance. They were going to use a different voice actor like they did with Darth Vader, and they didn't, and I'm so happy they didn't. Anthony Daniels is still with us, and he's one of the last surviving cast members, and he's a wonderful, wonderful actor. Did such a great job as C-3PO. C-3PO is an iconic character. I'm kind of gushing about C-3PO. Excuse me, but I just love the whole thing, you know, so it is what it is. Starting to get a little, excuse me. Moving on, we got Hoth Luke, okay? This again is in the this is in wave 4, all right? we finally get a Luke Skywalker. That is an interesting thing. They basically had a Luke in every wave. Previously, we had the Luke and Bespin outfit with the lightsaber and the gun, but now we have the Tauntaun Luke, the Hoth Luke. They put out a Tauntaun with an empty belly that you could put Luke in with Han Hoth. He completed the set. Wonderful figure, scarf. He's got his binoculars here that we saw in the film in the beginning when the Tauntaun got spooked by the Wampa. And just a great figure, a great sculpt. Unfortunately, they didn't put a lightsaber with him, which is kind of ridiculous, you know what I mean? He had the lightsaber, he protected himself from the Wampa with him. Put a lightsaber in the pack with Luke. Like, he's a Jedi, he needs his lightsaber. Like, what the hell are you thinking? Who knows? Who knows? I think that's the last time it happened. Well, there's 2 more Luke figures that don't have lightsabers, and it's just like, what are you doing, dude? Like, give him a lightsaber, you idiot. But I guess they were cutting costs and didn't want him to cost too much, and adding a lightsaber was just a bridge too far. Whatever. Okay, next we have the AT-AT pilot, then we have the AT-AT commander. And on that skin wrap that I was just telling you about with from the Sears exclusives, this is the AT-AT commander right here. Brand new figure, just bought him today. He's a scarred coup figure. Found him in my local toy shop, Rebel Base Comics. Thank you, Troy. Just like I was saying that this was R2-D2 with Periscope, he was named in on the Kenner cards, he was AT-AT Commander. On the skin wrap Canadian, we got the name General Veers. Okay, big deal. This is General Veers. We hear his name in the movie. I don't know why they didn't name him on the card, but they didn't. They named him AT-AT Commander. Maybe they didn't know. We saw the first 12 display with SEE THREEPIO 3PO C3PO. They spelled it out, so maybe they just didn't know General Veers. They missed something or whatever. Okay, he's good. Goes with the AT-AT, a giant toy, one of the greatest toys ever made, with the glowing chin guns and the big area for the troops and everything. And so he's dope as hell. And you know, he's not exactly an army builder, but he is a little bit, because you can see his rank here, and he doesn't have to be General Veers, he could be any general. And so you add one of those to a few AT-AT commanders and some snow troopers, and you got a little squadron, right? All right, we're getting to the end here. And what we have here is 4-LOM and Zuckuss. This is Zuckuss, but it was a mistake, okay? This is Wave 5, all right? These 2 figures here are Wave 5. 2 figures in the wave, 4-LOM and Zuckuss. It's not 4-LOM, it's 4-LOM. And they made a mistake in the packaging, this is very famous, and made this guy 4-LOM. He's not a droid. This is a droid. He is 4-LOM, 4-LOM, okay? But they called him Zuckuss, whereas this is Zuckuss. These are 2 bounty hunters from the executorship when Vader hired them to go find the rebels, and these 2 guys were there. We have seen 4-LOM, Zuckuss. I'm getting confused myself just talking about it. It sucks. So we've seen this character show up in Mandalorian. I think he might have been in Boba Fett. But he was on a rooftop shooting a gun. And it's not necessarily him, because he's a droid, so they can be, you know, all different kinds of, there could be many of them. They're droids, they can be built. Now, this guy, Zuckuss, I have no idea what he is. He looks kind of like a fly. He's got the eyes with all the, you know, he's got big eyes too. I mean, who knows? They both look sort of bug-like, you know? They look bug-like. So these are 2 bounty hunters. Both have unique weapons. They're both black. You know, that's kind of rare for this. Like we said earlier, this is the 5th gun in the line with a black gun. You know, they're great bounty hunters. They're 2 of 6 We get 6 bounty hunters in the Empire Strikes Back collection, and they're glorious. I love them all together. They have a Darth Vader's Destroyer playset, and you put them all on there, and it just looks so sick, right? You hang Leia upside down above it, and like, it's just cool as hell. We will do that playset review in the future, okay? And I will show you all of these figures on the playset, and it'll be a good old time. And then last but not least, Wave 6, okay, single wave. This is the 48 back. You can see here, this is a 48 back card, okay? I don't know if that's in focus, but this is a 48 back card, and it's the last card of the line. And, oh, this just happens to be a 4-LOM. Okay. So this is the TIE Fighter pilot, all right? Previously, we had a TIE Fighter in the Star Wars line. It was one of the first ships to come out. Great ship. The wings flew off, and it made noises, and it had a red light. Like, cutting edge for 1980, you know, incredible stuff. Empire was 83, 82, 81. I can't remember. So we have a TIE Fighter. This is a nice, clean example. Gray gun. A gray gun that matches the Cloud Pilot. I think I might have said that the Cloud Pilot had an only gray gun, but that is not true. The TIE Fighter has a gray blaster also. Nice big white emblems on the helmet. Nice mask. 4 points of articulation. 2 arms, 2 legs are the only points of articulation. Sat well in the cockpit. It has the air system on the chest. Just a menacing looking figure. I love the Empire figures. They're my favorite. Like, I love to build armies of Empire figures and sort of overwhelm the rebellion, if you will. So that's basically it for waves 3, 4, and 5. If you like, in the comments, let me know your favorite wave or your favorite character from these waves. If I had to pick my favorite character, might be that TIE Pilot. I love the Cloud Car and the R2-D2. Yeah. This is definitely a good run. It's not my favorite run, but it is a good run. All right, we're just gonna sort of. Well, that's not a good shot. So, in closing, all right, I'm going to show you a couple more shots of the play sets that I had put together. That I spent like 30 minutes setting up the shot, and I've only showed it a few seconds. But you know, that's how it goes. So, Star Wars toys, you can't go wrong. Pick them up if you see them at yard sales, whatever. They're probably not at yard sales anymore, but at toy shops, you know, get them in your life. Do yourself a favor. This is the Probot play set. We're slowly pushing in. There's lots of shadow, so you can't really see every figure. There's a Tauntaun in the background behind the Probot droid. And, yeah, so... What did that figure come out? I like the C-3PO that came apart. Me too, Tom. I definitely do. What year did that figure come out? Lindsay, these came out in 81, 84. I can't exactly remember, but during somewhere in that timeline. You can see the painted Han Hoth that I showed last week with the bootstraps. The painted bootstraps, the painted belt, and the painted holster. You see Leia there with her correct gun, the backpack accessories. You see the commander up in the blaster. And it's just fun. These are super fun toys. I'm gonna stick around for just one more shot as this pan goes around. Back again. And so Here we're coming around and we're going to show you, we're going to push into the Imperial playset. That is very common. These are very easy to find. Anybody can find these deals, and you get some snowtroopers and throw them in there and you got a party. There's a gel cell on this set. There's a couple different action points that you push buttons or stuff like that, and we got a couple Imperial commanders, we got 4 or 5 snowtroopers, we got Vader there, we got the big blaster, and it's just an amazing set. Like, you know, they look scary. The snowtroopers look scary. It's awesome. So these are up on opposite sides of the room. They're kind of pointed at each other. I think this is where I'm gonna put my new mail. I've got a surprise for next week's show that I'm gonna reveal. I've got a mail call next Friday night, and I'm gonna show a figure. So anyway, that's gonna do it for the night. I need some water. I talked a whole lot during this show, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will be back Monday with some more comic books. And have a great weekend. I love you.